Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to CyberSpeak Labs, Defenders and Lab Coats. And on this episode, we have a very awesome, very passionate guest I'm very excited to bring on and welcome into the lab. So, hi Heather, how are you?
Hello. Hi, Lab.
We always enjoy bringing guests into the lab, so thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So, Heather, to kind of introduce yourself to our viewers and listeners out there, can you tell us a little bit who you are and your background?
Sure. My name is Heather Noggle, and I am a 25 plus year technologist, primarily in the software space. About 3 years ago, I really got bitten with cybersecurity. And I think a lot of people say that if they're transitioning over from another area of tech, it's just, it grabs hold of you and you can never go back. So at least some part of cybersecurity will always be part of whatever I do. And right now, I am the interim executive director for a nonprofit organization called the Missouri Cybersecurity Center of Excellence. And we're going to talk about what I'm passionate about. We are definitely going to touch on that. So
Absolutely, and I'm beyond excited. I know I saw a couple of your posts, and you and I
mm,
are in a group together, and I was so excited to see that you would actually be speaking on this event earlier this year, and I was just like, "Oh, I have to
mhm.
bring Heather on this." She just radiates passion with what she does. So
Yeah,
now
it's great.
you kinda highlighted this a bit, Heather. Can you go a little bit more into how you stumbled into cyber?
Sure, I was working along and I was at a conference that I was mostly there for entrepreneurship. It was a tech plus entrepreneurship conference, and I stumbled into just a cyber hygiene session. I walked out of there and I thought, I could have given that talk, but it wasn't a, I could have given that talk. It was like, oh, I really
Right.
did know all that. I'm not applying all that yet. It was just a moment of, oh, goodness. I knew
Yeah.
all that, but I'm not applying it. Where's that gap between this knowledge I have somewhere in me and then the passion to actually go and do the work, knowing the benefit and the impact that it has? And from that moment on, I felt a little both ashamed and inspired. And I went and made some changes. And I actually reached out to the gentleman who gave the talk and said, I'd like to write something about this, just the whole lightning bolt moment I had. And would you
Right.
look at that to make sure I'm technically correct? And what I've found about this field is everybody is so, oh yes, come on in, do your thing. And
Yep.
that was not a thing in software development. It's like, okay, great, you're a developer. So what? You know, it's it's been really a very cool ride. I've met some amazing people, you among them.
Aw,
So,
thank you.
mhm,
I always say, and I will say this the day I retire, is that I think the cybersecurity industry is one of the most collaborative industries.
mhm.
We just wanna hear what everyone is doing. We wanna learn from everyone. It's such a community-driven field. It's
Yes,
amazing.
I'm
Which
impressed.
Which kinda got like, I remember kinda creeping on your LinkedIn a little bit and talk about your journey and everything. You highlighted one skill, I think I personally struggle with, and it's writing.
Ah,
And I which is, I remember when I was a college student, I thought it was so silly to be taking a writing course. I'm like, "I'm going to tech. I don't need a writing course." And
mm,
you can from well, I am documenting everything left and right on this, and,
mhm.
so I was kinda wondering what exactly got you into the writing side of things?
I think it was my mom whispering over my crib. She said 2 things, and one of them I'm sure is, "You're going to have perfect grammar," but the other thing was, "You're going to college, and this is what you're gonna do," and my mom taught English. So I do come by it very honestly and creative writing, how to express myself, and to just make sure that some of me comes out on the paper so that even if I'm not speaking to you or standing in front of you, you can say, "Oh, okay, that Heather wrote that, that's her." And I think if we can find a way to express ourselves in an individual way, especially in the age of AI, we'll be able to differentiate and get our message across because nobody wants to read what AI is writing.
Right, right.
So it's a passion. It was one of the early passions, and I've been writing since I was very young. And I can't imagine a world where I'm not writing, even if it's just for me.
Right, and are you I guess I have to ask this because 'cause I'm really curious. Do you do a lot of creative writing or anything on the side in your free time?
Yeah, I actually met my husband on a news group, and you may not
No
even know what
way!
news groups are. Back in the 90s on accident, it was a news group called rec.arts.poems, And he posted
Wow.
something on there, and I noticed he was in St. Louis, and I was in Columbia working on grad school, and
Yeah.
we ended up being the same age. He didn't even know I was a woman. It was completely innocent, one of those things, and we've been married almost 26 years.
Oh my gosh,
I've been on the
that could
line a
literally
long
be a
time.
movie. Yeah, that's insane.
Mhm. Yeah. And so my son, I have an 18-year-old son, and he met someone on
Yeah.
the internet. It's not like we can go, "Now you be careful who you meet on the internet." It's not gonna work coming from us. But
I
yeah, the
oh
writing, creative writing is just such an outlet, and things come out. I've written a couple silly songs that I used AI to put some music to them about
oh my gosh,
cybersecurity. I gave myself a name, Digital Grandma, and put it all out there. It's just, I don't
that's
know, it's silly.
amazing.
Yeah. And music is the other outlet. The creativity, the balance between the hard skills and the pure tech, which I truly enjoy, and then the creative
Yeah,
aspect of it. I think that's what makes us whole humans, is finding whatever that is in each area that we wanna
absolutely.
excel in, and what makes us excited to go do the other half of the things.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm gonna definitely quote that because that is so true. And,
Mhm.
I remember when I first got into this field, and my mom, she was actually an artist. She did a lot of oil paintings and stuff like that. And so,
Yeah.
like, art was very common in my house, but, when I got into the tech field, I struggled finding that creative outlet, and especially when you get so bogged down into the code and the weeds of things, and I
Mhm.
remember I would be image in here, like, give me something, and,
Mhm.
it's awesome to hear that. It's so, so awesome to hear that, and do you have any advice for people to, like, find their creative side being on the tech field at all?
It takes a lot of introspection
Yeah,
of whatever makes you happy and recharges you. That a lot of people have said, introversion are people who are shy. And
yeah,
if you look at introvert, extrovert, introversion just is an extroversion. That's where you find your energy. Do you find your energy around other people, or do you find your energy
right,
like surrounded like books and being quiet and just being in your own head and doing your writing and all that? So I think that's a place to start, is to determine
yeah,
what re-energizes you, and then from there pick what your activities are, and they're going to be different for every one of us. So there was a point early in my career, I was in HR,
yeah,
and I would interview people all day long. And
yeah,
I was still doing technical things on the side, because in the 90s, if they found out you knew technology, oh goodness, you got to do all the, you were shadow IT just because they needed you to be. There were never enough IT people. But I
right,
would come home, and this is before cell phones, and I would turn the ringer off on my phone because I was so people overwhelmed. And then I went into a job where I was coding in the dark all day, much like a sock, where
right.
everything's dark and you have the little desk lamps and all that. And then it'd be like, where are my people? I need to talk to people. And so I finally got the career where it was half people, half tech. So just to take
Yeah,
that into what you're talking about your hobbies, you have to figure out what are the attributes of the things you truly enjoy, and then go and do that. So the arts
yeah.
and the mixed and the science, and we're better humans if we're in the right mix, whether that's 60% arts and 40% hard science, or for more of us, I think we would go the other way, maybe 70% hard science and 30% something artistic and fun or athletic or whatever.
And there's a, if you're ever looking for a conference to apply for, there's this conference, the gal that runs it is Leslie, and
Okay.
they have an amazing conference. It's called Hacks for Pancakes, and at the
Okay.
very end, yes, and at the very end, it's like "Hey, what's a hobby," that you can tie into
Mhm.
this, and that's the signature of that conference is that, and I remember I didn't get into it. I was like, "Oh, I wanna showcase scrapbooking, so you can scrapbook your
Mhm.
favorite speeches." But yeah. No, okay, moving on, I absolutely enjoy hearing, like, your journey and the lessons you've learned from it, and I think one of the things that we struggle with now is how do we build those soft skills, right? And so
Mhm.
what's your recommendation for learning how to essentially just write an especially now, corporates like, "No, ChatGPT, yes or no," Grammarly, yes or no, but, just being comfortable to send an email, that goes such a long way in today's world.
I think a lot of it is get right to the point and then build your supporting evidence. Don't tell a big long story and have the point be at the end. So that's
Right.
one thing, and that comes pretty naturally to technologists to get to the point, as long as we can distill it down and say, "Okay, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna write an email. What is the main point of this email?" We can get there. We may need to go up a
Yeah.
level and say, "Okay, who am I writing to? So how much technical detail do I include or not?" But then I even draw, like, I do an equal sign and a hyphen, I go across the line, and then I get to the
Yeah.
details. So you get the idea of, this is what I'm trying to tell you, here's my supporting evidence, and then I might do that at the end and then have a conclusion. But it seems to work pretty well for the people who just want, like, the TLDR. Okay, you can
Yep.
get that there at the top, and then you can dig in where you need to go through that. I think that's really important, especially if you're asking a question. Go ahead and ask the exact question and phrase it in the way that you get a yes. So
Yeah.
if you want something and you're not sure whether it is going to be answer A or answer B, if you want answer A, ask them to confirm answer A. That's another thing that I've learned over time, is a really good soft skill, is lead them the direction you want to go, and they'll say, "No, no, that's not how it goes," or they'll go, "Oh, yeah, that's exactly it," and you have your answer in one email as long as you're clear.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's such a great, like, persuasion technique too.
mhm.
I
Yeah.
I really I really, really enjoy that, and I'm guessing that's something, you found just by accident probably one day, and you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna keep this."
Yeah, I don't know where I got that idea, but the same thing, instead of apologizing all the time, and I did get this from somebody else in communication. My degree is
Yeah.
actually in communication, so that's part of it too. But the idea that don't apologize all the time, just thank the other
Yeah.
person if you've slightly inconvenienced him or her, for the person's patience. And usually that goes a long way, as long as you don't overdo that. If you're consistently late, that's a skill you've got to get a little better
You gotta
at.
hone
But
in on,
if
yeah.
something happened that, out of the ordinary, you have to come in, and something you would normally apologize for, just thank the other person for extending you some courtesy. So that's another
Yeah,
thing you can do.
and I remember early on in my career, my mentor, she was all like, "You gotta stop apologizing," and I was like,
Mhm.
"I feel bad because I messed up," and she goes, "Who cares?" You know?
That too. If
Yeah.
I would give advice to my younger self too, it'd be not to be so self-absorbed, because everyone
Yeah.
has so much going on. We have so much going on in our own heads. We are really not judging people as much, especially as teenage girls think we are. So that's another thing too. When you're writing an email, instead of obsessing over everything, just
Yeah.
get clear communication, do your best, be authentic, and whatever tone you want to put on it, given the level of relationship you have with the other person, do that too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's always so interesting with, like, the different diverse people, that we send emails to. There's one
Mm.
person that I work with, and it's like 30 emojis in one sentence, and then the other person, it's like slang, it's like the y'all haul, hey
Mhm.
there, and I'm just like, "Okay." Yeah,
Whatever works, as long as it's
whatever
you.
works.
Yeah, that's very true.
And how did your journey lead up to what you do now with the Cyber Center of Excellence?
So I am the vice chair of our tech council here locally in
Yeah,
Springfield. And we had something come in saying, "Oh, Missouri Cybersecurity Center of Excellence wants to talk to us about maybe sponsoring an event or doing something like this."
yeah,
And I learned through talking to Wes Hester, who was on the steering committee and one of the people who put the concept together in
yeah,
2019. And he learned I had this interest, and I learned that they were getting ready to launch the program as the program after a long wait. It got going in 2019. They established the 501(c)(3 for the nonprofit, and then COVID hit. And so they had gotten a grant, they had gotten some funding promises from some organizations, and COVID hit, and that just put everything on hold. So
oh,
with
wow,
everything on hold, then they were starting to ramp up in 2023. When I was talking with them, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, okay, I'll sit down. I'll give you some
yeah.
strategic advice. We'll figure out where this goes." And I ended up on the steering committee for the organization, because sometimes you just can't say no. And I was
You
in a
can't say
position
no.
in a position where it made sense. It was really symbiotic with the work I'm doing with the Tech Council as one
Right.
of the groups that's aligned with that. And I just somehow, when we got closer to making a reality, we got our building in April after
Oh,
some
wow.
delays in construction. And so
Yeah,
the building is a SOC. It is a relatively mid-sized SOC. And we
Yeah.
built it from April, getting access. We built it from April to May. And thankfully, I didn't have to move any heavy desks. We had enough volunteers to do that. Didn't have to do any of the cabling, but we got all that put together. And then we started accepting interns into our program because we have two things we're trying to do here with Missouri Cybersecurity Center of Excellence. And one is to train the next generation of the workforce. Because as you
Absolutely.
and I know, and probably your listeners too, cybersecurity is not an entry level field. It is a portion of information technology that requires some pretty broad knowledge and definitely some experience. And a lot of places want the certifications as well. So we are
Absolutely.
working to skill up people who have essentially at least A plus level of knowledge, some networking knowledge,
Yeah.
to get them all the way to their security plus is the first program. And then when we get more mature, we'll go ahead and have a pre-program to get them
Mhm.
those early levels of skills. If you walk in and you have some curiosity and some aptitude, you may not have the tech skills. Want to get people ready to take our program. So that is the plan. But again, we're fairly new. So, given
Yeah.
how new we are, I'll go ahead and go back to the timeline of May. We
Yeah.
have a SOC that's built. We added two interns in the summer to vet the ideas of the program that we had. And then
Yeah.
we ended up, without advertising really, with 17 added in the fall.
What?
Yeah.
What?
People are hungry for this, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a great
Mhm.
idea. I wish I had
Yeah.
this when I was, like, early on in
Yes.
my career. Oh,
And
man.
so, as someone who's been upskilling, and we have a university professor on our steering committee
Yeah.
as well, and really looking at the journey map that Wes and his name is Shannon, Dr. Shannon McMurtry, they put together this journey map in 2019. It's like, okay, I can look
Right.
at this, and I have some experience as an adjunct instructor, and I can start to slot in these skills that we
Yeah.
need people to have. And we're using the idea here is adopt by create. So anything we can
Right.
adopt, we do. And there are a lot of free resources. So I happen to know a lot of them. We put them in there. And it's just like an amalgamation snowball of different things, including, did you know the library, at least here, has free access for people with library cards to Udemy? So,
Really?
yes. So we have
If
something
my
from
mom's listening
Udemy
to
for
this,
PowerShell. Mhm.
yeah, if my mom's listening to this, Heather, I definitely did not lose my library card. It's with me at all times, so
Mhm. I have mine memorized, but it's good. We have TryHackMe who's working with us too, and a
Oh,
lot of
that's
some of the things
awesome.
they're doing, I'm able to incorporate because I have some extensive experience in there. There's TCM
Yeah.
Security who just put out a free path there and some of their things. And so as we gain more, we're pretty much startup-y. I'm largely
Yeah.
volunteer and everybody else is fully volunteer. So as we gain some traction, some funding, we have everything built out because we're all entrepreneurs. The whole business
Right.
model, the business plan and business model goes all the way out to 12 employees full time. And I'm
Yeah.
serving as the interim executive director as we do some business development and we beg for money, essentially. And then also, I came in as the workforce director, and
Right.
so I wear all these hats, and I'm not the only one. It's pretty awesome. We host a lot of people in the SOC. We take them around, do the show. Everybody have interns there talking to people. We've had university presidents, we've had provosts. Today we had Congressman Eric Burleson, who's in town because this is
Oh
his
my goodness.
hometown. And he came in with someone from his staff, and we were able to talk with him. And he's a technical person. So we had a very heart to heart, actual technical conversation of here's what we're trying to do. We have Springfield as a city that is about
Right.
500,000 people in its metro
Mhm.
statistical area. And then around that, it's
Right.
all rural. And so you
Yes.
have all these counties that may have one IT person who is doing
Yep.
cameras, who is running cables, who is fixing printers. And that person, oh, by the way, do the cybersecurity too. They
Oh,
may or may
yeah.
not have EDR. We don't know where they are. They don't know where they are. They hear cybersecurity on the news, and if they're small
Mhm.
like that, they may not be doing anything. We are looking for some funding to go in and say, "Hi, we're the Missouri Cybersecurity Center of Excellence. Let's do an assessment for you. No charge to you, and help you align what you need to do and get the cyber hygiene pieces in there, the things that
Yeah.
are people and processes, and also guide them of okay, here's the tooling you need to ask for when you ask for grant funding." So it's
Oh,
those sorts of things we're hoping to do as we mature.
what a great vision and a great plan. I'm telling you what, like, I'm not kidding. I really wish I had something like this, like,
Oh, yeah.
at some point in my career, just getting the hands-on experience. So
Mhm.
let me ask you this, your first 2 interns, did they re-enroll into the program or, where are they at
They
now with their journey?
they are more advanced. One of them got a job, and then the other one was one of our volunteers as well. They're second career people, so I knew they would come
Yeah,
in, and that's part of the beauty of it. All of our interns are fairly advanced. Most of them already have their Security Plus. They need the
yeah,
work experience. So they
yep,
need all the pieces. I know from the work
yep,
experience, you have the schooling knowledge and you have the pieces, and they're the little dots, almost like pointillism when
yeah,
you look at art. And so part of what our program does is comes in and says, here are three main areas of cybersecurity that we can get you a little bit of experience in. One is the assessments we were talking about.
yeah,
So great, you get a little bit of GRC, you see how it ties together, and then the SOC itself. We are co-managed SOC with ConnectWise right now, and they're doing most of the work. But as we add clients, and then get further and deeper into this program in a few months, then we can start to take some of that load off of ConnectWise and actually run the SOC for our clients with students, of course, with oversight. So we're going to be building out playbooks and doing all the things, and they will walk out of this 1 year program with several hours of SOC analyst work. And then the
oh,
third piece, you can probably guess, we do some pen tests. We've got
yes.
a local city we've got a arrangement with for 5 years, and they love the idea that with great supervision that students can come in and they can see it from the scoping all the way on to the outbrief and see how these technical skills they've acquired actually fit into, wow, this is a whole lot of writing and we weren't necessarily thinking about that. It's not just going in and doing the fun stuff or the dumpster diving or the OSINT or what
Yep.
have you. You have a full process here that requires communication. So we
Oh
teach
my
that
gosh.
too.
And I'm sure you are the best person for that too as well.
I don't know. I'm a little light on the really deep tech when you start to look at pen testing, but that's okay. We have lots of volunteers who can fill in and do
Yep.
that piece. And it's just really exciting to see this all take shape. And we
Yeah.
have representatives. If you look demographically, and this will be the last piece on that, I'll let you ask another question. Of these interns, we've got largely in their 20s, about
Yeah.
35%, but we have several people in their 30s and several in their 40s as well. This is a field that is really drawing a lot of second career people.
Yes.
And it's very exciting because we need them.
Yeah, we absolutely do. And I think that's one of the also one of the most amazing things is the diversity that we have in
Mm,
this field because we need that diversity type of thinking. If we all thought the same, then, we
mhm,
wouldn't have that creative outlet to find these threats, to really defend and find different solutions to a problem. We have to have those types of people in our
mhm.
business. Absolutely.
And
So,
part of that diversity comes from your work experience before you were in cybersecurity and what you can bring.
absolutely.
I have a couple of people who came from restaurant. Well, they're going to have fantastic soft skills. And then if
Absolutely.
you look at me, I ran a whole lot of help desk on software for a SaaS
Yeah.
product. That was part of one of the things I had to do. And I can narrow down to, okay, if you are coding and if you're stuck, know at
Yeah.
what point you need to go and ask for help. And then in your preparation for asking for help so that you can pose it quickly to someone else, you can find the solution often just by actually packaging it to talk to somebody else about the issue and then to walk through my methodology with that. And so those are things we can teach too, because some people may have to start help desk IT before they get into
Yep.
cybersecurity. And so
Yep.
whatever skills and knowledge we can give people, let's do it. Let's get in
Absolutely.
there and do it.
And nobody can take away your education. That
No one can
is
take away your
no one
education.
can take that away from you.
Mhm.
Mm-mm. Now another question, Heather, is if people wanna donate to this amazing project that is going on for the community, where can they go? Where can they go to help or even send
Mhm.
resources?
So, yes, we do take individual and corporate donations. We have a nice little friendly button on our website, MCCOE.org. So, again, we're a nonprofit and we do work off of donations. We are that situation where we are funded by people we are not directly serving. Although, obviously, with something like this, with the training, employers will benefit from being able to hire our graduates. And that's another piece of this that I haven't even gotten to. We're working to build relationships with local and other Missouri employers, KC, St. Louis, et cetera, Columbia, and some of the other cities, so that they know at some point we may offer our own certification when we're more mature. It says, you've been through this entire program, here's what we teach. Here you have a career ready person tier 1, tier 2 SOC analyst, someone who can do some GRC work, and then some other advanced certifications over time that we're hoping. We have just this great roadmap. If when we get fully funded, we'll be able to accelerate what we're able to do.
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I'm from one of those small town Missouri where there's more cows than people, and I'm telling you what, it
Yes.
is so hard. It was so hard to, like, even understand what STEM was. I didn't know it until I left, and then I'm like,
Mhm.
"Oh, that's cool," you know?
And you touch on another thing too is when we are more
Yeah,
mature, we're hoping to go back into the K through 12 and go each year or period of time go a little bit younger and a little bit younger so that
yeah,
our 4th and 5th graders know what cybersecurity is, know what tech is, know how to learn the skills while they're still in elementary, junior high, and high
yeah,
school so that they walk out with something more than Chromebooks and PowerPoint and Excel and a little bit of Microsoft Office or Google Suite or whatever you call it these days.
yep,
We really need everyone to have some form of digital literacy that includes some technology and not just data.
absolutely. I struggle with Excel. I've been in the field for a very long time, and I still have to, like, watch a YouTube tutorial on how to make a chart, so
Yeah, it's not my favorite thing either. I prefer the data and querying the data correctly than looking at a silly old
Absolutely.
chart or making it. That you can't take the geek out of the girl, right?
No.
It's just
So let me ask you this, right?
Mhm.
When you eventually get the funding, when you eventually get the resources, what is a goal that you're trying to obtain and achieve?
Scaling. So
Scaling.
serving
Yep.
more and more, we would love to offer these free of charge to all the municipalities and all the counties
Right.
in this region, and then we can turn around and say, "Here's the model, give it to Kansas City, give it to St. Louis, what have you, give it to Wichita." Really build this full program out and give the whole
Yeah.
program or charge something just to keep funding what we do. We don't charge our students, so that's another thing. We do
Yeah.
ask for corporate donors if they would sponsor a student, and it does cost about 15,000 to take a student from end to end through the program. So those
Mhm.
sorts of things, we just want to scale. We have available in our building, just the other side of the wall, we could make a bigger SOC, we could add some offices. We just ran out of money. It happens.
Yeah.
But that's still at this juncture, that's still available where we can just do more. And I think we're
Yeah.
poised to be fairly efficient. I think I've mentioned we're all entrepreneurs, including me. And so
Yeah.
we can take the little scrappy bits of ourselves and do what we have. We can just be better, faster, stronger, leaner with funding. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. This is I'm this gets me all giddy. I get all excited with stuff like this. So okay, Heather, I got 2 last questions for you.
Yes.
The first one being is, since we're kinda getting close to time, do you have any advice for our listeners?
Um, the gamut of your listeners is practitioners and learners, I'm guessing. I'm
Yes.
all right.
Or
So
even
the
people
advice
that
is
might just yeah, like cyber's
mhm,
new, right? So, anything.
keep at it and as early
Yeah,
as possible identify what you're interested in. Make sure you learn broadly, but spend your extra time in the area you think you want to work in. One of the articles I'm writing about talks about how it doesn't serve us well that cybersecurity is this giant field. Medicine
yeah,
is like this too. There are many specialties within it. And if you don't stop to think, well, there's a difference between a podiatrist and a general surgeon. So the sooner you know whether you prefer to be a podiatrist or a general surgeon, the better you're going to do with your medical career. And you look at for comparison, cybersecurity versus software development. Software
right.
development's been around and hasn't changed much. So the other advice is be prepared for this to change and change radically during the time you're even just studying it. 2 3 years, and
Yeah,
it's hard because under the surface what we found is general people going about their days don't even think about cybersecurity because it doesn't look like much has changed even in the last 10 years. But if you look at 2014 to now, the major change that everybody would probably point to is large language models, ChatGPT, Claude, and
yeah,
Gemini, and things like that. So that is a tangible change. But 10 years ago, we had smartphones, so that doesn't feel any different. And we've had the internet for 30 years now. Most people haven't been on it quite that long, but
yeah,
So there haven't been major disruptions beyond those two things in our lives, but under the surface of the cyber attacks and now the targets and the deep fakes and all the capabilities, we know that massive things are coming and we need more and more practitioners and we need to be prepared to upskill and keep learning.
Yes. Great advice. Solid advice. I agree with everything you just said because it is absolutely true. And then my very last question, Heather, is if people want to follow you, I know you mentioned the Center of Excellence website, but if people want to follow you on social media, what is a good platform?
I'm on LinkedIn and I until recently I posted every day. I've got a couple things going on that are exciting and project based, so I've taken a little bit of a break. But LinkedIn's a pretty good place to find me. And then I'm also got heathernoggle.com just to make that easy. It has my way to contact me to do speaking engagements and writing things. So that's on that site.
Oh, awesome. And I always enjoy your AI art on LinkedIn. It makes my day.
My black cats. Yeah.
Yes,
So do I have time to tell a story
you
because it's just
absolutely have
funny?
time.
All right. So 2 years ago yesterday, the
Yeah.
two black kittens just showed up, and it's the week before Halloween, and they were these tiny little beasts. And at the time, just one of them came squeaking, and it was uncharacteristically warm like it is this week. So one of them
Yeah.
came squeaking in my husband's window because we were both working from home at the time, and just squeak,
Oh,
squeak. And it's this tiny little kitten, and then it starts screeching. So I go to retrieve it. And we're not looking for
right.
cats. We're in the country.
Yeah.
And it was this tiny little kitten, and then off in the distance we heard meow. So we have squeak and meow,
Oh
and
my
sure enough,
gosh.
they're just tiny little kittens, and we left them
Oh.
outside because I wasn't looking for cats, and they climbed up and they just hung onto the screens and made faces at me, and within 3 days we had two new kittens.
Oh,
So we already had
I
a
was about to
black
say,
cat.
cats
Hmm.
choose you, that's how they do.
They do. So we had a black cat. She was older, and then we had these two black
Yeah.
kittens. And then in July, so that's October,
Oh,
they
no.
moved in. In July, I'm at church, and this little black cat that's been living in the parking lot for a week shows up and said, "Hi, mom." And so that's how I ended up with 4 black cats, also a
Oh my
kitten.
gosh.
He was starving, we had to take him, he chose me, and then so, yeah, we have 4 black cats, and so that's why all the black cat AI art.
I I love the story behind it, and I'm sure your husband's
Mhm.
like, "No more cats."
No, he facilitates. I'm the one with, like, "We don't need any more cats,"
Oh,
because
that's
and
even
sure
better.
enough, but I can't, the 2 kittens disappeared one night, and I'm in tears, and he's like, "Come on, bring the
Oh.
cats in, bring the cats in." So, we have the cats, and now they're
Oh
2
my goodness. Oh my goodness.
and bigger.
The AI art's cute, so I'm sure the cats in person are just as adorable.
They are. They're fantastic. Good
Well,
cyber
Heather,
defenders.
thank yes, as we have, like, a dog logo, don't look at the dog.
Mhm.
Well, Heather, thank you so much for joining us in the lab. It has been super insightful, super passionate, and thank you for everything that you're doing in the community. It's truly making a difference for that next generation coming in, so thank you so
Awesome.
much, and definitely, if anyone is interested in helping the Missouri Cyber Center of Excellence, I will link that website down below. Feel free to just explore, feel like you can take, that initiative and just really see how you can
Mhm.
help and drive this cyber community because that's how we grow, right? We learn and grow from one another. So thank you so much, Heather. And, I will talk to you soon. Thank you, everyone.